Hey Chris, long time no see.
Long time no see, Vincent. How's it going?
Good, good, good. Looking forward to it. I'll keep my camera off, but
Yeah, all good.
good luck out there.
All good. Cool. Welcome, everybody. We're just at the hour mark, so I'll give it a few more minutes just to let people trickle in, but we'll go ahead and get started here in about a couple minutes. In the meantime, if you want to let us know where you're tuning in from, I'm tuning in from Toronto, buried in a lot of snow right now, but not so bad. Yeah, shoveling food. Nice, nice. Minneapolis. Cool. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Feel free to share your LinkedIn profile as well. I think this is a great opportunity to grab some connections with the group. So feel free to go ahead and do that as well. Alrighty, if you're just tuning in, we're just going to get started here officially in about a minute or two. Let some folks trickle in. But yeah, post in the chat where you're tuning in from and feel free to share your LinkedIn profile link so we can connect with one another. Alrighty. I love seeing so many people show up. This is great. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of fellow mastermind alumni. Love to see that. Alrighty. Okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and kick things off. We'll let some more people trickle in. You can be camera off, microphone off. I'll go ahead and get started. Just 1 second. Let me just get my screen share going. Here we go. All right, please let me know when you can see my screen. Everybody see my screen okay? Awesome. All right, cool. I'm going to go ahead and get things rolling. Where is the comments? Here we go. All right, cool. Well, welcome everybody. Thrilled to have you here. We had about several hundred, I think 220 signups. Probably can expect 50 to 60 of those people to tune in. But look, absolutely thrilled to have you here. Of all the webinars I've participated and presented on, this is probably the one that I was most fired up to give just because we are at a pivotal time in the partnerships profession as a whole. Obviously, AI is dominating the landscape. And I thought it was an important time to share what I'm seeing in the trenches and give all of you a blueprint for how you can be thinking differently about an AI, using AI in your roles. So we have a jam-packed hour together. This is going to be relatively fast paced. It's going to be very practical and hands-on. So we're going to try to avoid any of the fluff. And the goal is to help all of you walk away with at least one or two concrete workflows that you can think about implementing in your role and in your team, so you can start supercharging your productivity. So there's two main parts to this webinar. There's part one will just be me setting the stage on the landscape of AI and partnerships. And then phase two of the webinar is the fun stuff where I'm going to go through 10 individual AI powered workflows and specific use cases that you can use. So that'll be the bread and butter. But before I dive in, I'm just going to give a quick introduction to myself to make sure that you all understand who you're dealing with here, so to speak. So Chris Lavoie, founder of Partnership Mastermind, which I'll introduce more properly in a second. I can see a lot of you here are fellow Mastermind alumni, so shout out to you all for showing up. A lot of you are new faces that I haven't had a chance to connect with, but hope to connect with you in the future. I come from a strange background. I have a PhD in organic chemistry, spent 10 years in academia, and then like a lot of folks had, a little bit of a career meltdown where I didn't know what I wanted to do, but somehow, some way found my way into partnerships about 6 years ago. And it's been a perfect fit ever since. Really cut my teeth in tech partnerships and app marketplace strategy. Since then, I started as an IC and then was able to climb into leadership positions, building global partner programs within B2B SaaS, and currently running Partnership Mastermind, advising high caliber partner orgs. We do have a podcast, and my favorite fun fact is that I'm a proud girl dad to our 10-month-old daughter, Pippa. Cool. Yeah, surely Chris needs an introduction. Appreciate that, Damien. Cool. All right. So a little bit about Partnership Mastermind, just to familiarize you there. So we really are the global platform for quota-carrying partner pros to get training, get resources, get community, get mentorship they need to level up their skills, gain confidence, build network, and ultimately access tools that they can actually use for execution. So we got our start almost 3 years ago on the day. And I'm really proud that we are now trusted by hundreds of the top companies in B2B SaaS. So all of these great companies have put a number of their partner pros through some of our programming. So we're very proud of that. We started as courses and boot camps and frameworks and resources, but we've evolved in a major way. So just last month, we launched our first ever app platform called the Mastermind Collective, which gives you all of the things that we used to have, like courses, et cetera, et cetera. But now we have over 25 plus AI tools for both skill building, training, and learning, but also execution, which this is relevant to today's topic. So as an example, one of our many tools is a partnership playbook generator, right? Which is effectively a standard operating procedure for producing a process that you would use repeatedly to deliver specific outcomes. And a lot of partner pros struggle to build these type of things. I certainly did for the longest time. And these can sometimes take a week or so to put together, but we don't have a week anymore. We have hours at most. And so in all of our AI tools, we basically say, hey, look, we'll tell you what the inputs are. So you tell us context, tell us nuanced information, and then boom, we'll spit out a beautiful polished artifact, which in this case would be a partnership playbook. I can't show you the full thing here, but it shows like an executive snapshot, revenue math, actual plays you can run, email copy sets, you name it. And the goal is to help you get 70 to 80% there a lot faster. So anyways, this is the Partnership Mastermind. This is our new launch, the Mastermind app platform, which is a collection of AI tools for skill building and execution. If you're interested in that, hit me up afterwards and I'd love to chat. Cool. Now let's get into the fun stuff and start talking about AI. So actually, John just asked anyone working with Vibe tools. So good timing, John. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about my journey with AI. You signed up for this webinar in hopes that I was going to teach you something about AI. So it's important that you trust that I know a thing or two about AI. And I don't want to say I was an early adopter. I think that's kind of a cringe phrase, but back in 2023, when ChatGPT really took off, I definitely, I felt like the luckiest person on earth. I couldn't believe a tool like this now existed because, my crazy, chaotic brain, which sometimes struggles with organizational skills and just, putting things on paper, I thought that this was this huge breakthrough. So I leaned in pretty quickly. From a usage perspective, last year alone, based on usage, I ranked top 1% globally for ChatGPT in terms of usage. And then on Lovable, which is my other best friend, as you can see, I was also in the top 1% globally for code written. I've built websites, so www.partnershipmastermind.com. Every single thing you see and feel is powered by Lovable. I've built apps. I've built decks, presentations. This entire presentation deck that you're going to see today was built through Lovable and powered through Lovable. So suffice to say, I'm a power user, but that's obvious, right? Like those are some obvious benefits of using AI. But the more profound thing I wanted to share just to set the stage for this presentation is really what AI has done for me personally is it's removed any limits on my imagination, right? Whereas before I would set these ceilings, these constraints on myself because I'm like, well, I'm just not capable of doing this. I don't have a marketing brain. I don't have a design brain. I don't have a product and engineering brain, obviously. Like I can't do a lot of these things. So it limits how I thought about my own capabilities. But now that's completely wiped away. Now I just assume no matter what I dream up, and I'm definitely a dreamer, I can probably figure it out through some AI tool in some use case, right? So that to me was the biggest benefit of all in leaning into AI is I now feel like the art of the possible has dramatically expanded. And I'm sure a lot of you who are starting to dabble in AI are seeing the same thing. It's like, wow, like what I'm capable of personally has skyrocketed. Alrighty. Cool. So now let's get into the fun stuff now that we got the introductions out of the way. So you're here. Hopefully you signed up for the right session. The AI stack that top quota-carrying partner managers will be using in the next 6 to 12 months. That's what we're here to talk about. And so for the first part, so this is phase 1 of 2, I'm just going to set the stage, give you my inside perspective. I do have the fortunate privilege of getting to look inside and under the hood of hundreds of high-performing partner programs across the B2B SaaS landscape, which gives me a unique perspective on what's happening, what trends are there. So phase 1, I'm just going to set the stage, give you some really helpful insights on kind of where AI is in partnerships. And then, as I said, part 2 is all about real workflows that can potentially help you. So to set the scene, why does this all matter? how is AI actually impacting us in partnership professional roles? The first thing I can say is that our jobs just became outcome compressed, which is to say that, you know, delivering great outcomes has always been important, right? Full stop. That's an obvious thing to say. But nowadays, right, the expectations are going through the roof, right? CEOs and CFOs across the landscape are salivating at the opportunity, improving one of their favorite metrics, which is revenue per full-time employee, right? It's not a metric maybe most of you think about, but it's a metric, it's a board level metric that really indicates efficiency, right? Can you get a million? Can you get $1 million per full-time employee? That's now the gold standard. Whereas a couple of years ago, maybe 200 to 300K ARR per full-time employee was the standard, right? So literally every CEO and CFO is incentivized to get more revenue with less employees, which is scary, I know, but we have to wrap our heads around that. What that means for all of us is that now it's not enough to just deliver good output, hitting this type of target, but you need to do it in a more efficient way. And that is where AI fits in, right? AI can't just help you deliver more output, which is great, but how can you even just get the same level of output you're getting more efficiently, meaning spending less dollars and less time? That's what the game is all about, right? Because at the end of the day, we're getting the same quota, less headcount, higher expectations. And so the goal is how can we be more efficient? Right. And the top partner managers, by the way, are already doing this, and you don't want to fall behind. And that's what today's all about. So now let's talk about you. Most of us in this room are partner managers or adjacent roles to partner managers. And so let's make sure that we all clearly understand where we're all at in the average, right? So partner managers today, for the most part, this is typically what things look like for you. You're managing a mid to large size book of business, maybe 30 to 80 partners. You've got 10 to 50 active deals plus other leads that you've got to manage. You've got a ton of weekly alignment happening. You've got a bunch of monthly reporting you need to do for your boss, the exec team, partners, and you've got a ton of internal and external enablement. So this is really complex. And I'm on record saying that of all the GTM functional roles, which maybe there are a few dozen, I think a partner manager is the most complicated role, period, across GTM. Because it's not just internal, there's a lot of external things, a lot of the things are out of control. And as we all know, a lot of us are under-resourced and under-supported and under-recognized within our org. So this is the average partner manager. Now, as it pertains to what we need to do moving forward, which is deliver more output more efficiently, right? The problem isn't that we aren't skilled enough, right? So many of you are extremely talented, bright, work really hard. In my opinion, this isn't the problem that you don't have the skills. It's that you just haven't been taught how to introduce leverage into your role. And this is a huge, huge plateau that so many people in any profession run into, which is how do you create leverage? Which means how can you go from this linear growth curve where you're putting the only way to scale something outputs is to put more hours in, which is a linear graph. How can you create this exponential graph where you are actually SaaS-like in the sense that more hours isn't required to generate more output? And so that's what a big focus of today is. And that's what AI really unlocks is leverage. So if you're still finding yourself doing everything manually, you're definitely behind, and that's okay. Hopefully today we're going to get you back on track. Alrighty, cool. So now let's share a bit of insights, right? So as I said, I have the privilege of getting to talk to so many different partner managers across the B2B SaaS landscape. And I'm constantly running surveys and polls just to get a pulse on the market. And so if you're wondering like, hey, like what are the current use cases for AI as of today in February of 2026? This is a pretty good breakdown. So you can see the percentage corresponds to what percentage of respondents said that this is a use case that they're currently using AI for today. And probably a lot of this isn't surprising. The majority of these are like static use cases, like one-offs, right? So it's like I just finished a meeting, I get the call transcript, I pop that thing into ChatGPT and I ask it for a few things, or maybe I prepare for a big partner meeting, or maybe I pop in some deal notes and I get an update on what's going on. Maybe I copy and paste like a thread from like Salesforce or a HubSpot deal record. So a lot of these are like static, like transactional, I call them like one-offs, right? Now, where the real leverage is unlocked is in real agentic and automation workflows, right? Partnerships is definitely lagging here. You can see only less than 10% of folks are actually leaning in here. But I bet you if I ran a similar poll for sales and even marketing, we'd see a much higher percentage, right? Because I think they're more sophisticated in their AI use cases. That's okay, we'll get there, but this is where the real leverage is at. So hopefully when I run this poll and again in a year, we see a much bigger percentage here. So hopefully this is helpful to kind of set the stage. The key though is the gap is widening, right? There's definitely a gap building where the people who are leaning into AI are accelerating faster, and then the people who aren't, obviously the gap between performance is growing pretty quickly as well. Cool. So how can you and how can all of us think about kind of progressing from a manual partner manager to an AI powered partner manager? And this is really the simplest way I can describe what needs to happen if you want maximum job security and maximum leverage for career advancement, right? Picture this as like the lifeboat, and we're all on this little bit of a sinking ship over here, right? If you're in manual land, got to be honest, that's a little bit scary, right? You're definitely vulnerable from job security risks. Whereas where you want to be is an AI powered partner manager. So instead of building slides from scratch and doing a data analysis from scratch and doing all this deal review by manually, right? You need to convert through the AI layer into AI powered partner manager land where everything is automated, everything is kind of prepared for you. You have systems running in your sleep, so to speak. And it takes a while to get here, but the goal is that we have to be intentional about getting there. Cool. So let's get more specific now. We're getting closer and closer to the actual workflows. So next thing I'll show you is what I believe are the 6 core AI jobs for the modern partner manager, which is to say, hey, look, of all the things that a partner manager does, what are the jobs that we can, so to speak, delegate or assign to AI to support us on or completely own altogether? So I think this is a helpful way to think about it. So some of these might be straightforward and obvious. Some of them might be interesting. So first one is sense making, right? Like this one is more familiar with most folks. Like how can you just give it raw information and help it contextualize? How can you get it to help you understand things better? How can you get it to create content as an example and understand things? So this is a good one. Prioritization, I'll show a lot of workflows today, but how can you actually, if you have a complex book of business or a bunch of different leads and deals, how can you make sense of them and understand who's hot, who's not at any given time to make sure you're prioritizing accordingly? Communication, I think this is probably the one that most people are comfortable with. Analyze a call transcript, draft email copy, draft Slack copy, et cetera, et cetera. So people are largely comfortable here. Execution, there's a lot of work to be done here, which I'll show today through automation. Reporting, this is one that not enough people are tapping into. So as an example, a lot of us are not strong at creating like VLOOKUP formulas and complex Excel and Google Sheets for like advanced reporting, or a lot of us don't understand SQL and can build our own custom dashboards within our business intelligence tools. Well, AI can do all of that for you, right? So I would really lean into using tools like ChatGPT to help you with reporting. And then enablement. So much of what we do in partnerships is enabling internally and externally. I'm going to show you some really cool things you can do with that today. Alrighty. So what does the minimum viable AI stack look like today? And this will evolve. So in a year from now, this could be totally outdated. But I've broken this down by like 3 capability levels, right? So there's the foundational partner manager, step 1, execution partner manager, step 2, and then a systems partner manager where you have the maximum amount of leverage in step 3, right? So this is just to kind of set the stage of where all partner managers are kind of put into buckets. Most people are at level 1, where you're doing some basic things, transactional use cases. Some of you are at level 2, where you're able to have like some level of sophistication around workflows. But then a couple superstars that I've come across have just completely unlocked some major systems. And you typically need like real support from, say, RevOps to really unlock these. But some of you are at this level 3. The key is eventually we all get to level 3. But for now, the most important thing is to be honest and say, where are you at? And how can we make a big step forward? All right, the final slide before I get into the actual workflows, just to put a bow on the opener, is the way I think about the AI stack architecture, so to speak. And hopefully this kind of makes sense and helps you think about what's the flow of like information and inputs through an AI layer, and how does that translate into real outputs. So the inputs are, AI does its best when it has clean, accurate information at the highest volume. And so what are the outputs we have to feed AI? As an example, we have our CRM, which could be HubSpot, Salesforce data, as an example, sales and partner calls. So record everything, right? Like can't stress that, obviously. All of the docs, emails, playbooks, enablement assets, etc. Partner vendor tools, Crossbeam, the PRM data, et cetera, et cetera. These are your inputs, right? These are all ammunition, so to speak, to feed an AI layer to then do things to provide outputs like deal notes, GTM plans, revenue narratives, routed next steps, real automations. Okay, training wheels are off. We've set the stage. Hopefully, we all have a good understanding of like where we're at in the landscape of modern partner management with AI. For the rest of this entire session, I am going to go one at a time through 10 very specific AI empowered workflows that hopefully can help you really unlock some major productivity gains to start giving you that leverage that you absolutely need to unlock if you're going to survive and thrive in the AI era. I'm going to start with some light ones, which will be more familiar to you all. They're easier to set up. Probably some of you are already doing these. And then as I go through from 1 to 10, they're going to become more sophisticated, more complex, but more powerful and higher leverage, right? So feel free to post questions in the chat. Once I get through all of the content, I will open it up. But we will go fast and furious, but hopefully you take a lot away from this. Okay, let's get into the fun stuff. So the first of 10 workflows, as I said, I'm starting with a light one, is what I'm calling QBR in 30 minutes, right? So this is a time saver use case. And any of us who are managing strategic partnerships are likely running some type of quarterly business reviews with key partners, either like strong tier twos or the bulk of your tier one partners. And these are really important milestones. You maybe only get 4 in a given year. And these are huge opportunities to make a strong impression on the partner, catch up to speed, and most importantly, get access and exposure to executive sponsors on both sides of that partnership, highlight what's working, ask for things that aren't, ask for things that you need to get things that aren't working back on track. So suffice to say, it's an important milestone. Now, that being said, having been a partner manager, having to prepare and deliver these, which terrified me, and having managed partner managers who had to prepare these, this is a really scary thing to do. It's extremely time consuming to prepare. It's really scary to deliver, right? And the biggest thing is it's just really time consuming to put together. There's a ton of information. You need information from the partner. You got your own information. So this could easily consume 4 to 6 hours, if not more, per QBR. So if you multiply that by how many strategic partners, this can become a total nightmare, right? So this is one of the easiest low-hanging fruit use cases for AI that honestly, you can get a professional grade, world-class executive ready QBR done in honestly 30 minutes once you start getting familiar with it. I'll show you what a great example looks like in a second, but the 3-step process is relatively straightforward. Step 1, ingest the notes, the data, whether it's meeting notes, CRM data, partner activity, everything you have access to, right? As a reminder, you should always be thinking, if I want an output, what inputs do I have that's relevant? And then feed that into the AI layer and give it the right context. So here, ingest the notes, write a good prompt, and I'll take 1 second to just triple down on prompting. We are all in this prompt engineer era. Communication skills with humans is critical, but communication skills with AI is arguably even more important. There's a saying in the science world. I grew up as a chemist that like garbage in, garbage out. So if you have 4 ingredients that you put into an experiment, you're going to get crappy outcomes. Same thing for AI. So don't be sloppy and lazy on your prompting. Really commit to like giving more nuance, more context, getting better and better at prompting, and you're going to get much better outputs. And then for this specific use case, what you're going to get, just to skip to the next slide, is you're going to get an executive ready QBR, right? So I know this slide might look a little bit busy, but what this is meant to show you is the art of the possible, right? And so what this is just a mock-up of what you could get as an output for a QBR, and it might be shorter than you might think it should be, but honestly, this is what good looks like. The point of a QBR document is not that you cover 100% of all the information, right? The goal is to give the other party enough information to be informed, but the real value from QBRs actually comes from the conversations that are had throughout that meeting, right? So this is honestly plenty enough, having been in hundreds of QBRs. So you can see some of the things you're getting from this, right? Executive summary: Shopify influenced this much revenue, generated $1 million in pipeline, 22% quarter-over-quarter growth, 3 mid-market deals, 2 blockers require VP attention, overall status at risk, revenue and pipeline snapshot. This is the money, right? Too many QBRs that I've seen and I've prepared myself. you're highlighting the wrong things that don't jive with the average executive. They don't care about how many webinars you did and how many signups there were and how many in-person events and MQLs. They care about where is the pipeline, what revenue is moving. So this is the type of stuff that you want to put in there. Deal level highlights, key wins this quarter, blockers, priority and action items. So I think most of us would agree that this is a pretty good example of what a QBR should look like. But the bigger point is it shouldn't take you 4 to 6 hours per partner QBR to do this. It should take you honestly less than 30 minutes. Because again, you want to get to the meeting and you want to get into discussion and deliberation. You don't want a 95% of this process to just be putting this thing together. All right. So that's playbook. That's workflow number 1. 9 more to go. And again, we're going to ramp up in terms of complexity and leverage, but we're going to start light. So the second one is in the same vein as the first one. It's around reporting and communication. So this one I'm calling executive reporting, which is really a visibility building tool. And the comment I'll make here is I mentioned earlier that in this new AI era, there's nowhere to run or hide, right? If you're an average performer or worse, there's nowhere to hide. And if you're a strong performer, you need to over communicate your impact that you're having internally, right? And that requires stronger communication skills when it comes to reporting upwards and across the org, especially to the executive layer, right? And so what we need to do is get better and better and better at communicating in a way that doesn't create cognitive dissonance for them, where they're like, okay, what the hell is this partner manager saying in terms of, I just asked them for an update on how things are going. They sent me a bunch of stuff that I'm not exactly sure I understand. If that's the case, you're in trouble. So as a super simple use case for AI, you can just give it raw inputs. As an example, this many meetings, this activity, new partner registrations, deals are moving, et cetera, et cetera. And all you need to do is just get all the raw inputs together. And then with a good prompt, you can get something like this, which is something that is executive ready to share, right? So partner ROI summary, right? Partner source pipelines up 18% week over week. 3 deals accelerated. Investment recommendation. We need to increase co-sell resources, top action items, et cetera, right? So this should take you no more than say 10 to 15 minutes once you have the right inputs. And again, if an executive like your boss, a VP of partnerships asks you for a high level executive update on like how your pipeline, how your portfolio is doing, you need to present the information to them in a way that they can understand and respond to. You want to give them exact information for them to react to. So you need to be able to translate it a bit. So definitely using AI to enhance and improve your communication skills on an executive level is a really great use case.
Out on Facebook, period. I am so sorry to hear this.
Okay, sir, I think someone's microphone is on. If so, please turn that off if you got your mic on. Okay, cool. So those first 2 ones, I'll call those the warm up, the softballs. From here, I know things are going to get more and more sophisticated and useful. So workflow number 3, post-call automation, right? So this takes a little bit of work to set up, but I know plenty of people who have something almost exactly like this fully teed up and ready to go. So a lot of us in partnerships, we take a ton of calls, right? High performing partner managers on average have at least 3 to 4, if not more, partner calls per day, right? Like that really is the activity level that's required to crush quota. And so the problem is there's so many moving parts, so many follow-ups, so many action items, it can become exhausting and easy to let things slip through the tracks, right? And so a super simple example of like what best will look like, and whether this is reality for you now, it needs to be in the future. Imagine the following flow. So step 1, the call is done. Let's just say you're using Gong as a call recorder, right? This is a summary that you might get, right? Key points, extracting next steps, and risk flagged. Okay, great. That's super helpful. Right? But that's not enough, right? What about the actual action items you need to do? Okay, great. Here are the actual action items. You need to update the deal stage for that partner, update the close date. You need to flag, some risks. You have other tasks that need to be done, right? And eventually, and some folks already have this wired and integrated with their CRM. A lot of you obviously aren't there yet. You can even do this manually with Google Sheets. But you need to automatically create these tasks and ideally have them in some type of system of record so you can actually action on them. And then if there's a follow-up that needs to be done, it's automatically drafted. I would encourage you not to have automated email flows sent, right? Because that's a little bit too risky. You need to QA them, but can it have it drafted, right? And then you can just inspect it. And then as long as it looks good, you can go ahead and hit send, right? As an example, you can see a good example of what this looks like here, right? So for any of you who has a complicated book of business and you're constantly having meetings with partners, this is the type of workflow that you absolutely want to work towards, where the second you're done a call within, say, 30 minutes, you're getting a full summary, next steps, key tasks you need to complete, and a follow-up email if relevant, right? So this is definitely going to save you a ton of time. Imagine multiplying this by every single meeting that you take. And then the key is, right, in terms of how this is actually making a big impact, right? Obviously, who's writing notes? Instead of you having to write all these notes and do all these manual follow-ups, right? You're just focusing on execution and getting the tasks done, right? And so this is a huge unlock that I would encourage you to work towards. All right. As I said, this is a fast-paced webinar. We've got 10 workflows to show you. We've covered 3, right? And we're going to keep it moving. And this one is for anyone in tech and product partnerships. And you could translate this to other use cases as well. But for workflow number 4, this is all around cross-functional collaboration. This is one of my favorites, which is so many folks who are tech partner managers or in product partnerships who are responsible for trying to convince product and engineering to build integrations or upgrade existing integrations. It's really difficult to establish productive relationships cross-functionally. And so what do you do, right? And so what happens in a lot of cases is, you send a Slack message to some product people saying, hey, this partner wants to build, or we need to upgrade this integration. And then product often doesn't respond, or they take forever. You keep following up, the partner loses patience, right? And the relationship kind of gets burned, right? And so I've had this happen many times on my team, certainly when I was a tech partner manager. And the problem is you haven't learned how to communicate in the appropriate way to product leadership so they can not just make a decision, but they can ultimately even analyze what you're asking them in the proper way, right? And so that's why it keeps happening. And so something that I learned and tested on my own that I've now shared with a lot of folks is, and this is a simple hack that you can do not just for product partnerships use cases, but any cross-functional use case, is why don't you actually go talk to the leaders who are responsible? So at one of my last companies, we had 4 product leaders who owned all of our key product categories. All the partner managers on my team were consistently coming to me saying, hey, look, the product team won't listen to us. They won't ever answer our questions. They never say yes to our asks. They never prioritize our integration requests. And so finally I had to step in. And so the exact steps I did to solve the problem, where I said, okay, I'm going to talk to all 4 leaders, right? So I had a live interview with 4 different product leaders, one at a time, recorded those via Zoom transcripts. So then I was asking them, I say, hey, look, my team's perspective is that you all are really slow to get back to us. You never make decisions. So how can we improve the situation? What do you need to hear from us? What information do you need from us to submit requests so that you can properly process it and make a decision? So I got a ton of incredible insights, clarified all the problems, identified the bottlenecks. And so then what I did was I popped all of those transcripts into ChatGPT and I said, hey, look, our product team won't respond unless we present them with like the following information. Can you please come up with a template that we must admit or commit to in order for them to take it seriously? And if we do submit a request in the format that they prefer, then they will commit to maintaining, say, a 3-day SLA for reviewing and a 7-day SLA for making a decision. And so you can imagine, so you can see some of the fields that we had to always present to them was like, what's the expected customer impact and revenue exposure? What partners are impacted? Integration type, effort estimate, risk and dependencies, deadlines, success criteria. A lot of these things we just simply weren't providing to them when we were making our requests. And so this was a huge unlock for us. And once we started following this procedure, we started getting a much healthier relationship with product and engineering. And more importantly, we started getting actual approvals and things started to get built. So whether you're in tech partnerships or not, you can imagine applying this type of approach to any cross-functional colleague where you just interview them, all the right people, get all the information, record it, and then leverage those insights to make improvements. Alrighty, now we're really into some sophisticated workflows. So I trust that you're going to find the last 6 the most exciting of all. So this next one is partner prioritization engine, and this probably is my favorite of all 10 personally, because if anyone who's been through my courses, and there's a lot of mastermind alumni here, you'll know that I'm on record saying of all the things that determines the success of a partnership and a partnership program, and for you individually, is which partners do you actually invest in prioritizing, right? So like literally, who do you partner with? In my opinion, and I'll die on this hill, who you decide to invest in is the biggest determinant of success for a partner program and for yourself individually. Okay, great. The problem and challenge is that if you have a big book of business, it's so dynamic. In one quarter, partners A, B, and C could be hot. And then in quarter two, they could be cold, and partners D, E, and F could be hot. So it's so dynamic, so many partners. And as I say here, most partner managers try to spread effort equally, say a book of business of 30, when in reality, we all know Pareto's principle, the top three are typically driving 80% of the revenue, right? And so the question is like, okay, how do you get smart about identifying and engaging the most, the best partners at a given time, given how dynamic things are? So I'm going to show you in a moment what this can actually look like. But the workflow, the steps to actually put this thing together are relatively straightforward. So the inputs you need, right? You need CRM pipeline data, Crossbeam data can help, partner activation history, deal velocity signals, any data that you might have on all of your partners in the aggregate. That's really what you need. The steps, export the partner data. And then the key to this playbook is you want to have a scoring model, right? So this is the heart and soul of this entire workflow. You need a scoring rubric that automatically can deduce, okay, at a given time, say on a month to month cadence, how can we stack rank all of our partners based on a variety of criteria that you decide the weights of? So as an example, ICP, region, solution match, momentum, activity, deal velocity, influence. These are some of the things that you can use, and every company can use different weighting metrics. And then voila, you can rank, say, your top 10 partners by revenue probability. Sorry, there's a couple people there with your mics on. So please, if you have your microphones on, please turn that off. Cool. So that's what you're trying to do, right? And the tools you can use, very straightforward tools. And what you're going to get as the output is you're going to get a monthly partner hit list. You can do this quarterly. I think monthly is a better approach, right? Because so much can change in 1 month. I think you should be looking at something like this on a monthly cadence. Okay, so let's get into the fun stuff. This is what gets me so excited. And I've run exactly this workflow. So I produce artifacts that look just like this, and so can you. So again, imagine you have an automated system, right? You're collecting all this information, or you can pop this into something like ChatGPT. You provide all the intel. You provide ChatGPT the scoring rubric that you're using, and this is what you're getting, right? So you're getting the partners, type of partner, region, but those are table stakes. But the fun stuff is, okay, what's their overall fit based on criteria that you set? Momentum is huge, right? Because again, a partner might have been traditionally and historically really productive, but maybe they've cooled off a lot in recent months. Momentum is critical in partnerships. Influence, right? And you can define that in a variety of ways. How many active deals, how much active pipeline, overlap signal, last touch, what's their current tier. And then all of this gets a weighted blended score on a scale of 1 to 10. And this just makes it dead easy, objectively clear how to think about who to prioritize versus who not to prioritize, right? And this is so helpful because a lot of you have 10, 50, hundreds of partners in your book of business. And there's so many data points dynamically changing on a month-to-month basis. So it's really difficult to understand who's hot, who's not at a given time. A framework like this can remove so much of the guesswork. I mean, you can even install something like, what's the recommended next action, right? So if I'm a partner manager and this happened to be my actual output table, I'm going to these 3 partners and I'm saying, okay, for the next month, I'm dialing it in. I'm going to try to lean into these partners as much as I can to squeeze as much juice as I can out of them. Carolyn, I see your message. To clarify, you manually scoring these categories. So you can automatically score these, right? So as an example, for momentum, you could introduce an actual logic within that score. It could be how many deals created in the last 30 days, right? And then 8 out of 10 equals 3 deals, 4 deals as an example. So you can easily introduce actual formulas into each of these individual criteria, which I would recommend, right? Manual can be fine for some of these anecdotal ones, but the more you can rely on data, the better, because that scales much better. Okay, so that was workflow number 5. We're now into the second half of the workflows. This next one's a really fun one, especially for those of us who are in pure quota-carrying, sourced and influence pipeline and revenue oriented roles. So this one I'm calling the kill fake pipeline one. And this one is all about 2 things. Improving our pipeline hygiene, which is a massive, massive bad habit that too many partner managers have, which I'll explain in a second. And then the second big piece here is building credibility with sales, right? And a lot of us have fractured relationships with sales, which is its own topic, right? And so this playbook and workflow can really help you improve your accuracy of forecasting and boost your credibility with in alignment with sales. So to set the stage on the problem, too many partner managers, me being guilty of charge in the past and people on my team as well, we don't do that great a job at forecasting our pipeline of deals. And we're not the real deal owners. The AEs that we pass the baton to are the actual deal owners, but we have a pipeline, right? And so the problem is too many partner managers are a little bit lax and lazy when they inspect their pipeline, right? So if I ask a partner manager, hey, how's your pipeline? They'll say, oh yeah, I've got 350K of active pipe, expected to close 100K, on pace to hit quota. When in reality, maybe a 75K or 100K deal in there, which is a huge deal, is actually going to move loss. But the partner manager didn't do enough due diligence to understand that. So their pipeline isn't actually quite as good as they think. And this leads to really poor forecasting, which is something executives absolutely hate. You don't bring the right level of urgency and action, so you end up missing quota. And when you bring that type of lazy analytics and insights to the sales team, and you tell them that deals are in a better place than they are, they just stop trusting you, right? So this workflow is all around how can you improve your forecasting ability whilst also building credibility with partners. So the process is relatively straightforward. Do a CRM extract, right? So if you go into HubSpot as an example, you can go to the deal view. You can filter on your deals. So like partner manager owner equals first Lavoie as an example. And then voila, you're now looking at only your sales deals with your name on it that you sourced, right? Export that. Pass that into a tool like ChatGPT, like your company ChatGPT instance, right? Give it a super simple prompt, right? Like, hey, score each deal on a scale of 1 to 10 based on likelihood to close, based on activity, stage, age, et cetera, et cetera. And then voila. And what you're going to get is you're going to get improved forecast accuracy and, as I mentioned, sales credibility. So let's take a look at what this could look like for you. Not too dissimilar to the partner prioritization workflow output, but now we're looking at all of your deals, right? So just imagine this is you, you're the partner manager. These are your 10 active deals. And so what you're seeing is the deal, which partner referred it, what's the deal type, right? What stage is it at in your sales pipeline, deal amount, close date, how long is it sat in that stage, last activity date, and then the AI score, right? And so the higher the score, the better. And that really translates to what's the probability that this deal is going to close? Does it pass some preset qualification? What are the risk flags? And then what are the recommended actions? So just imagine you're doing your weekly or biweekly pipeline review. You instantly get this within 15 minutes, which isn't just helpful for you, by the way, right? Because any of these deals that look like they're failing or stale, well, you should go to that partner. So if Gong sourced me in a tech and that's a big deal and it looks like it's really stale and there's no activity, well, I sure as hell better go back to Gong and my rep at Gong to say, hey, look, any update on this deal? Can you give us some push on this deal? So this is helpful for you to try to get those deals that are off track, but also this is super helpful to then ping to the AEs, right? So imagine you share this with AEs who are attached to these deals and you share this with sales management. You're going to look like an absolute boss, right? Yep, Jay, I see your question, or Javin, sorry. Yep, you're going to get that. And I actually meant to share this earlier. So here, yeah, the recording will be shared, but I also just shared the entire slide deck in the chat. So there you go. Cool. So imagine you pass this to sales. You're going to look like a boss. You're going to build credibility. You can identify the red flag areas that you can potentially help on, but it's also going to help them prioritize the deals that are healthier because you want to close those first. So anyways, long story short, this is a really simple workflow that anyone can introduce as long as you have relatively straightforward tracking of sales deals. These live tables chat. Yeah, Caroline, these tables, everything you've seen in this entire presentation is built by Lovable, right? So I have ChatGPT on one monitor saying, hey, I want to build a slide for weekly partner pipeline inspection. Here's my vision for it. And then voila, it just builds them in real time. All right, cool. 4 workflows left. This one is really fun one for anyone who's participating in co-sell to any extent, whether you are yet or not, this could be helpful. So again, the problem around a lot of co-selling for anyone who's actually done this at scale, right, is, and we've all been here, co-sell call ends with a partner rep as an example. Nothing gets logged. The partner ends up feeling ignored. You let things drop through the cracks. AEs don't forget their commitments because, to be honest, it's easy to do. And then the deals stall, right? So this is a relatively simple one, but powerful, where, again, you're just taking something as simple as a Gong transcript, some CRM deal data from HubSpot or Salesforce, adding a little bit of nuanced anecdotal partner context, and then feeding an LLM something like this prompt, right? Like, hey, based on this transcript, extract agreed upon next steps, key risks and blockers, what I need to ask the partner, and suggested follow-up email, right? Again, this may sound trivial and simple, but not nearly enough people are doing this. And this is the biggest risk for any co-sell, for anyone who's been involved in it. It's so hard to get people to agree to do this. But then once you're doing it, you need to be fast. You need to bring urgency and clarity. You can't let things fall through the cracks because momentum can die so fast, right? So as an example for what you can expect from this, and I know this slide looks a little bit busy, but imagine you getting a post-call artifact like this, right? So a document like this, here's the co-sell deal recap. Here's the deal, the partner manager, the status. What are the agreed upon next steps? Okay, Jordan's going to send updated pricing. The partner's going to introduce us to the implementation lead. What are the risks and blockers? You want to surface these more than anything, right? Because this is what's holding you back. What's the partner ask? Drafted follow-up email, right? So, hey team, great sync today. Here's a quick recap, and then some internal notes, right? In just one prompt, you can get all of this just by posting in the transcript, some CRM deal context, and partner context. And then voila, you can get an output like this, right? And then Brian, I see your question. How do you protect proprietary information when sharing all this sensitive data with Lavoie and AI tools? Yeah, so that's a great question. I have some comments on that later. Most companies have business licenses to all of these new AI tools, open AIs of the world, Anthropics. So if you have that, then you should have free reign to just use them at your disposal. If you're using them on your own personal licenses, I would be extremely careful and then talk to your IT team, right? But ideally, your company has business licenses with these tools that you have a business account with, and then you really are protected. All right, 3 workflows left to go. And this next one, I think, is one of the most exciting ones. And it's exotic, and there's 2 use cases bundled up in one. So to set the stage, this is all about AI-powered influence detection and attribution detection. And the simplest thing I can say is it's all centered around call transcripts from your sales team, right? So just to anchor us around this one, imagine all of your AE's calls are recorded, which they all are, whether you're using Gong or something else. There's so much value to be derived from a partnerships perspective from those Gong transcripts, right? And there are 2 use cases I want to highlight. The first one is influenced opportunities, right? Which is to say that in many cases, right, an AE is talking to a sales prospect, say on a disco call, and something along the lines of the prospect will say, oh yeah, like we just finished purchasing and implementing tool A, and the AE doesn't think anything of that because why would they? But if we were on the call, we would be like, wow, partner A is like one of my closest partners. The fact that this huge prospect we now have just finished purchasing and getting implemented with this prospect we're talking to with a top partner, I can go to that partner and say, hey, look, we're now in a deal cycle with this account. We heard from them that you just closed them, and that partner can probably provide you with the cheat sheet and the blueprint for how to work that deal cycle, right? Like who's the economic buyer, who's the key decision maker, what's their RFP process look like? But they can also potentially offer influence in intel. So this is a way, I'll just put a picture on it. This is a way for you to surface automatic influence opportunities where imagine you get a Slack notification like this, right? And this is very easy to set up, by the way. A partner mention detected, right? Here's the account, the deal, the signal. The prospect mentioned ShipBob as a current logistics vendor. Well, why does that matter? Well, ShipBob's a tier 1 partner and we have an active champion. Okay, great. So what can you do? You can ping the AE or you can ping the partner rep directly and say, hey, look, so-and-so company just mentioned you guys on a call today. Can you share any context and confirm champion? We'd love if you could intro us, right? So this is a super cool one because a lot of you aren't sure how to like get a partner influence motion running. You're trying to like randomly pick accounts that you think you could be helpful for. In my opinion, the best influence candidates are either ones that AEs ask you for help with directly, which doesn't happen enough, but more realistically, can you detect things via Gong insight triggers and automatically surface potential influence candidates that you can then bring to your AEs and say, hey, look, we noticed this deal. Do you want help on it? So that's one. The other kind of peculiar one, but a really cool one is attribution, right? So it's partnerships is a hard one to get proper deal attribution for from like a deal source perspective. I think ads are a little bit more straightforward and marketing sources are a little bit more straightforward because they have, pixels and UTM links. So it's a little bit easier to like understand if a deal came from like say an ad. Partnership referrals are tough because we're relying 100% on, typically email introductions or registrations through a PRM portal, right? And so the key is if you have 100% of sales call gong recordings being analyzed by AI, you can have it be looking for keyword phrases like, hey, how did you hear about us? Or I found you through blank, right? And so imagine you get a notification like this, which I have run this, by the way, and received thousands of these notifications, and we found hundreds of thousands of pipeline we would have missed, where it's something like, hey, prospect answered, found you through, and it would list a specific partner. The current deal source in the CRM is outbound, so it warrants taking a deeper look. Potentially it wasn't outbound, it was actually a partner. Because we all know that in our partner manager roles, we enable a partner, say some AEs and CSMs at a partner, they then believe in it, and then they go pitch it to one of their clients. And they say, hey, look, you should definitely check out Partnership Mastermind. I think they're a great fit for you. And then the prospect goes, okay. And they Google www.partnershipmastermind.com, and maybe they book a demo with me, and then it's just treated as organic, right? Because the referral was never logged properly. And then if they get on a call and they tell our AE that, hey, yeah, I found you through a partner, well, then that's a way we can recapture that missed attribution. So this is a bit of a cheeky one, but honestly, it's relatively straightforward to set up, and it really minimizes any risk that you're going to miss proper attribution. Okay. Yeah, so this is a summary of what this does. Missed attribution recovery, influence opportunity alerts. Okay, the last two workflows, and then we'll wrap up. The second last one is really powerful for anyone who's responsible for managing new partner applications and onboarding and activation of partners. So just imagine that you have a good brand as a company, and a lot of potential partners apply to join your partner program, right? So maybe you have 10, 50, 100 plus inbound applications a month. Most companies have a pretty generic partner application form. It doesn't ask much information. And then the responsibility of someone on the partnership team is they have to sift through these applications, get on a discovery call, go through that flirty phase, and then decide who to partner with or not. That to me is a dinosaur approach to it. The way to supercharge this, and AI can really help you here, is I would actually, the way I've always run my partner programs is I ask for way more information in a partner application form, because it's such an easy low-hanging fruit opportunity to get a ton of relevant information from a partner on day one, so you can assess and qualify them, right? I'm always aiming to disqualify partners and be delighted when they prove me wrong. So this workflow, it helps you automatically tier which tier, or sorry, estimate which tier a potential partner application would fit into based on the data they provide. So it's relatively straightforward. A partner applies, right? So you have a public form on your website, like www.company.com/partners, right? And then there's a form. So they're providing information like their ideal customer profile, their products, services, et cetera, et cetera. Then CRM records are automatically updated, and it's doing some AI scoring. So on a scale of 1 to 100, as an example. So I'll just go ahead and show you what this looks like. So imagine you're collecting information like this in a partner application form, right? Like what GTM motion do they run? Who's their target persona? What's their integration readiness? Who do they compete with? Referral volume, proof signals. Why do they want to partner with us in the first place? What's their region? So you can collect as much information as you think is relevant in a partner application form. But again, imagine you have dozens, hundreds of these applications coming in a month. It's way too much to process manually. So what you can do is you can come up with a very simple scoring model that's unique to your company, which, as an example, imagine you have 5 weighted dimensions, right? ICP fit is the strongest, which I think it should be. That's 30% of the score. Revenue probability is 20%. Integration capability, if that's relevant, is say 20%. Region coverage and strategic leverage. These are the scores. And let's just say based on your algorithm, a new partner applies, it runs the AI analysis, and it pops out a score of say 82 out of 100. That would tell you that they have tier 1 potential. Doesn't mean they're immediately a tier 1 partner, obviously, but it says they have tier 1 potential, which is the minimum tier needed to route to a senior PM, right? And so automatically, what you could do is if a partner applies and based on their information provided, they're deemed tier 1 potential, you could automatically have a follow-up, say, thanks so much for applying to our partner program. Here's a link to book time with one of our senior strategic partner managers, right? You could have a Slack ping to that channel. Obviously, the HubSpot record should be created the second that the partner applies, setting all of these properties in the first place. This one is a really fun one that I personally implemented because it just removes 90+% of the manual work that comes with being inundated with a ton of partner applications. So definitely would encourage you to check this one out. Cool. And then the final one is building AI co-pilots and custom GPTs in this example, right? Which any company should support you to do. If you have a business account license to say OpenAI, any of you can create custom GPTs or work with your RevOps teams to create these custom GPTs. I've built many of these for both an internal and external use case. So it's never been easier than ever before to build these custom GPTs or custom co-pilots where effectively you're just like stuffing it with relevant information. Obviously, you want to do it strategically and intelligently to like format the information properly and give the AI co-pilot proper orientation and context so it like knows how to like communicate properly. But you can build two things. You can build an internal partner co-pilot that you can expose to say your customer success or sales or account management or launch engineer team so that you can give them on-demand access to all insights on your partner program and all of your partners. And then you can also give a separate co-pilot or custom GPT to your partners, right? So they can ask questions on demand about anything that might be relevant to your partner program. The huge unlock here is this removes the heavy burden of constantly needing to do enablement, right? You can only do so many lunch and learns with your partner teams. You can only get so much face time with your customer success and sales team internally. So why don't you package and codify all of your great insights into a neat and tidy co-pilot so you can make it available to them. The enablement you have to do is you have to make sure that they understand what this is and how to use it. But once they understand how to use it, then they can just use it for things like, hey, like what's the latest co-sell motion with HubSpot, or tell me about our integration with Shopify. And as long as it's trained up on that, it can give them that instant information. So again, you're de-risking enablement demands. And then for a partner's perspective, if they have access to something, they don't even need to message you. They can say things like, how do I register a deal? Voila. How do I pitch you to a qualified client of mine? Here's some information there. So don't discount how powerful it can be to work with your ops team as an example and start working towards building co-pilots for both internal and external use cases. The internal one, candidly, is much more powerful just because there's a greater likelihood that your internal teams will actually use this. In terms of what this looks like, pretty straightforward from a knowledge-based perspective. For the internal co-pilot, it's best, it's hard to like rely on any CRM or deal data, so maybe leave that out. And then for external co-pilots, obviously you need to be careful about what information goes in there, which is why you'd want to build that with your team. Cool. So that basically wraps up those 10 workflows, which you can see summarized here. Just to wrap up, I want to give you a kind of a forecast looking forward. So you can start to think about this a little bit differently. So 12-month forecast prediction from myself is that what will be table stakes is that everyone in partnerships will be using AI for like meeting notes, summaries, CRM co-pilots, because all the tools will have co-pilots, LLM drafting, and basic workflow automation. So I think everyone will have that. Well, they'll need to. I think the differentiators will have more sophisticated workflow orchestration, like some of the workflows I showed today, partner scoring models, co-sell intelligence models, deal intelligence models. And then I think what will be overhyped is fully autonomous partner management. So I do not believe for a second that partner managers will just be rapidly being replaced. No chance. There's way too much humanistic elements that are required to substantiate a partnership. AI replacing judgment calls, AI negotiations, and fully automated, activities. I don't believe that these will be replaced as much as some people are claiming they will be. So in terms of what you can think about, say, in the next 30 days, honestly, the simplest thing I can say is just to get started. Start connecting some tools, ask some of your friends, colleagues, people in the network, hey, what are you currently using AI with? And then as soon as one resonates, including some of the ones I showed you today, go ahead and test them and see what you can figure out. And then the final thing I'll leave you with as an important disclaimer is what not to automate, right? I don't want to overwhelm the situation and feel like everything needs to be automated, everything needs AI, right? I would keep these things human, relationship nuance, super heavy duty partner strategy. You can use AI to help you think about the strategy, but ultimately you should be making calls. Obviously, things like negotiations and problem solving, you really need to maintain those. And really the recipe is, hey, AI for synthesis, speed, and scale, you for judgment, trust, and strategy. That really is what will create an unstoppable system. And then the final failure modes to avoid, and I've run into these myself, and this is the last one. You have to make sure you don't have garbage CRM data or just data in general. You have to resist the urge to try to automate everything, because the problem there is AI can do so much heavy lifting while it's executing tasks, say agentically, but every AI workflow creates some output, right? And so if you're just overdoing it, you're gonna go from being overwhelmed on managing the inputs to then being overwhelmed managing the outputs, which is a different problem to have. So you don't want to do that. And then privacy violations. A few people already asked that in this, right? So just make sure you're double checking internally with what you can and can't do when it comes to ingesting data in your tools. Cool. Well, I had hoped to have more time for questions. Unfortunately, are at time, but hopefully this was helpful. I'm repasting the slide deck in the chat. The Zoom recording will be shared with everybody. But again, thank you so much for tuning in. Good luck leaning into AI, and please, please, please DM me on LinkedIn if you have any questions or want to connect. Thanks so much, everybody. Cheers.